I have been doing a lot of podcasts recently, Rob. It's it's become a thing. I was telling Federico, is like we call App Stories a weekly exploration of the world of apps, and it's not so weekly these days. It's been the schedule's been a little bit all over the place. We did a bonus episode about his iPad Air review, and then we got the other club stuff and other things going on. But yeah, I've been sitting in front of a microphone most days over the past week or so.
Yeah, if you could slow down on that a bit, because I don't have a commute anymore, so like it's taken me a long time to get through podcasts.
There's no doubt there's something to that, because I have found that I have cut back the number of shows I listen to dramatically because, I just don't get out. First of all, that there was a dip when I first stopped commuting into Chicago for my old job, but even so, I used to listen to more shows just kind of running errands around town or going out and grabbing myself a quick lunch somewhere or something like that. And I just don't do that very much in the midst of the pandemic. So it's usually when I'm out exercising or walking. And I haven't done a lot of that lately because we've been really super busy at Mac Stories. And even when I do that, half the time maybe I'm going for a walk with my wife or something, and I don't listen to podcasts when I'm with another person.
Yeah, I've sort of ended up, I think I'm basically just listening to podcasts in like 5-minute increments.
Right.
I was like, I just listen to it while I do the washing up or make dinner or something, but it's never like, I can't remember the last time I listened to an entire episode of a podcast all in one go.
Yeah, that's very true. And I'm doing more of that. I'm doing more of like, I've got to go do some laundry, or I've got to do something in the yard or whatever, and I'll listen for a little while here and there. And you get through them, but it does take a while. I mean, I suppose that's one benefit of that new show that John Gruber and Ben Thompson started, which is the Dithering Show. It's a subscription-based one. It's only 15 minutes. It's a good show. I'm sure that's a lot of work for them. They've probably fallen by now into a rhythm where they can kind of figure out what 15 minutes feels like, but that's not a long show. You have to really kind of get at it, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I've still got a huge backlog of, non-news shows, like stuff that doesn't really matter too much if I listen to them late. But sure. I keep finding, and I always want to listen to, the kind of sort of news, connected ATP, that kind of thing,
right.
Where like I get to the point now where it's like, now there's a second episode, so it's like, do I want news from last week? Probably not. So I end up sort of, I'll go in and I'll find, is there any chapters that I'm interested in? Because otherwise I'm never going to get through this stuff. And like I say, is news from a week or 2 weeks ago that useful when we're talking about like iPhones and stuff, when we've got way more information a week later? It's, I end up skipping them, and it's a shame because, I really like those shows, but
yeah,
there just isn't the same time that there used to be.
No, and those episodes, while they're good if you can get to them, they do have a very short shelf life, because you're right. I mean, people, especially ones that are done immediately after an event, because we learn so much in the 2 or 3 days afterwards, like all the fine print, the footnotes, the interviews that people at like Apple do with various publications. A lot of little details come out over the day or two afterwards that really kind of are that stuff is what I end up kind of enjoying collecting and listening to later. But you don't really get that with shows that are done immediately after. I have found that Castro is a really good podcast player for the kind of reduced listening, or the listening that you're talking about, because it's kind
right.
of, I like Overcast and I've used it forever, but Castro with its inbox system and queue is a pretty nice way to just kind of pick and choose. And that's really where I'm at right now with most shows. There are only a handful that I listen to, kind of religiously, and the rest of them is kind of hit and miss, unfortunately. I expect that'll change over time again, as maybe things get better at some point. But right now, just kind of being at home and not leaving all that much, I don't have nearly as much time for it.
Yeah, I totally get that. You have reminded me, actually, talking about the event, which we're sort of going to talk about anyway. This is, I think, is the first time since they've been live streaming them, which is 5-6 years or something. I turned it off. I was so bored. I was so bored of hearing about cameras, and not that the cameras themselves aren't cool, but like, I don't know what it was about this one, just the way it was presented. Like, I was watching, I was like, I am so bored. I don't actually need to watch this. And I just turned it off and went and did something else.
I don't think they did a great job, really, and with the way they presented the phones. And I think part of that comes from the fact that there's a weird mix and match of software features and hardware features across all of the 4 phones that were announced. So there were places where Apple was kind of repeating itself. Like when they got to the Pro, and some of the Pro camera features were the same ones that were on the non-Pro phones. And it got very confusing very fast, figuring out which ones had the better lenses, which ones had the, portrait mode in the dark, which ones had this and that feature. And boy, I went way too deep on this by the numbers article that we do for most of these events, where it was like I was pulling out all the megapixels and everything for all these cameras, and it was just mind-numbing to get through all that in one go, because it just wasn't really presented in a super clear and concise way, and I had to kind of pick through a whole bunch of tech spec pages to kind of figure out what was on which phone.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of part of Jess was watching it with me, and when I said, look, should we just turn it off? And I think I said to her at one point, I said, it's fine. Like, John will deal with it. I can read an article like in a couple of days or tomorrow or whatever. Because, like you say, you do that kind of article, and, there's 1,000 other news sites. Like, I don't need first-hand knowledge of this event. I can just read up on it the next day. It's really not going to kill me to do that. And I guess in some ways as well, like, I knew I wasn't going to buy the more expensive phone, just because I just don't need it. I don't really care about the cameras too much because I don't take that many photos. So I guess once it got past like the Mini and the 12, I was already switching off a little bit, but I was just like, oh, whatever. I'm not going to bother watching it anymore.
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, the other thing I think the events suffer from, although they're super well produced, and I think Apple's doing a better job with online events than most companies are, the fact that people in the press don't have hands-on opportunities afterwards makes it really hard to write about this stuff. I mean, I can't really say anything about the HomePod Mini other than Apple claims it'll do this and Apple claims it'll sound good and that kind of thing, which is, it's fine, but it's really not any better than having Apple tell you those things. And we, eventually we'll get our hands on one. I mean, nobody's had them. Now at least, the people have as of yesterday, the first phone reviews started coming out, and I think like The Verge did some excellent videos, which I thought were very good. But yeah, it's a little hard, and I am very interested in this HomePod Mini. I dug in and did hands-on with intercom, Rob. I can now send my voice throughout my house, which is kind of fun.
So I did see that. I was actually reading that article before.
Oh God,
before we recorded.
It's super complicated, Rob. I started writing this yesterday. I was tired, and I was like, "Oh, I can't deal. I'll deal with this tomorrow." Yeah, because what they've done, they've split the feature. They've split aspects of the feature between 14.1 and 14.2.
Right,
is what it comes down to. So 14.1 came out yesterday as we record this. And 14.1 activates intercom, but only between HomePods. And because we don't have HomePod Minis yet, that means the original HomePods. So if you have more than one of those, you can send a message from one to the other. And if you have many of them, you could send them to all of them at once. But the feature was announced just a week ago, or a week and a day ago, as working with the Watch, the iPhone, and the iPad too. Not the Mac, of course. Sad trombone. The Mac gets left out of a lot of
the what?
Features.
What is that? It's like a computer, is it?
I think so. It's the computer of the future. So the thing is though is that with 14.1, so if you try to use the feature on a device, it just doesn't work. I mean, it tells you that it only works on a HomePod, which is confusing if you watch the event and they announce that it's going to be on all these things, and it's not. But I think I have 14.2 on some devices, and it now shows up there as something that works in the Home app, but it doesn't actually work because I think the HomePod is still back on 14.1, and it's going to have to get updated too. So it's the whole thing's a mess.
Yeah. Well, shall I tell you why I don't have a phone coming Friday?
Oh, yeah, you should tell me.
Okay, so I have ordered one.
Oh, good. Good. I thought maybe you were going to tell me you had just, like, canceled your order.
No. So, like, sort of before the event, and I'd seen the rumours, I was like, I think I said this last episode, but the Mini I thought was where I wanted to go, because it's a bit of a smaller phone, and, you know, as I say, I'm not using my phone as much, so I'm quite happy with the smaller phone. And then I think it was on pre-order day, and, you know, I had a little look, even though I wasn't ordering, because obviously the Mini doesn't come out until next month.
Right.
And then, like, I don't know, it must have been 3-4 hours after pre-orders went live, somebody mentioned to me about the battery, and then I went and looked at the compare page, and I was like, the Mini battery is actually really bad, even compared to, like, kind of any of the phones. Like, the Mini is a smaller phone, so it's got a worse battery, which is, it's understandable, but I hadn't really thought about it.
Yeah, and you add 5G to that mix, which I think is hard on the battery, too.
Right, exactly. So this is, like I say, 3, 4, maybe 5 hours after pre-orders went live. So then I was like, oh, okay, well, I've changed my mind now, so I'll order the 12. But by this point, they weren't coming on Friday anymore. So I've got to wait until the 2nd of November for my iPhone 12.
That's too bad. Well, I did order something. I ordered the iPad Air because I am a big proponent of the iPad Mini. I have now caused several people to buy iPad Minis, I'll have you know. And I don't actually have one anymore, but that's only because Jennifer broke her old 2nd-gen one, so I gave her mine. And I'm at the point where I don't want to buy a Mini at this point because I do feel like it might get an update next year, but I wanted to see if the iPad Air filled kind of like a similar role, but because it's bigger, also made it better for like for work type stuff like writing, because the Mini, while I have explained how you can write with it, especially if you have it in a stand and you have a third-party keyboard, it's not great for that. And it's really more of a consumption device more than anything else, you know, reading, watching movies and that sort of thing. But
Sure.
But the Air is still quite small, and I thought maybe it would still be a really good reading device, but be something I could throw in, especially what I ordered with it wasn't the Magic Keyboard, which is the newer one. I ordered the Keyboard Folio, which is the older model, because I wanted it to be light. I want this to be less chunky than my 12.9-inch iPad Pro when I go somewhere to write. Now, like I said before, I'm not really going out and going to coffee shops to write or anything so much these days, but I expect that hopefully someday that will happen. And I do just like having the option of having like a very lightweight device to put in my lap while I'm sitting on the couch and maybe tap out some emails or something like that. So yeah, well, I guess we'll see how it goes. I mean, Federico had his review up on Mac Stories today as we record, and it's virtually identical in size to the 11-inch iPad Pro with, you know, fewer of the Pro features. But since I already have a Pro, I don't really need 2 Pros. And I'm looking forward to getting it. I am a little disappointed by the color. I'm curious what you think about all the colors because, for instance, I'm just going to focus for a second on blue. The iPad Air blue is so light that it's practically just silver with just the slightest hint of blue in it. And then the iPhones, that at least the ones that have been released so far, have 2 very different shades of blue. And when you look at all the colors together, it's kind of a weird mishmash of strong colors and also some kind of slightly pastel-y colors.
Yeah, the color thing, actually, we were, because Jess's phone has now decided, like, the battery's just draining really quickly, so we're going to get her an iPhone 12 as well. So we were looking at the colours, and MKBHD got a red one, and iJustine got the green. And the green is very, very faint on the iPhone 12.
It is.
It sounds very similar to the blue on the iPad. And the red is like, I mean, MKBHD said this.
Really red.
It's like a coral colour, which, don't get me wrong, is a nice colour, but like, that's not what they're selling you. Like, you know, they're like, oh, it's product red. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, this doesn't look red like the, you know, like the iPhone SE or the, you know, the product red 8 before that or whatever.
Right.
So, I mean, I've gone really boring. I just ordered the black because I didn't really want a mix of colours coming through the case because I ordered the kumquat. Is that how you say that? Kumquat, the the orangey case, which is very nice. I've got it. I can't do anything with it. I can just look at it while my phone turns up.
Yeah, that's the case that I think that I will probably order as well. Yeah, I usually go with like a space gray type phone and a color like that. That's what I've got right now. I think I haven't decided what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the Pro Max because I do want the cameras that they've announced for that one. But I haven't decided on the color. I'll either probably get blue or I might get the silver, which is really just like a white back with a natural stainless steel color on the sides.
Yeah, that one's very similar, at least in terms of color, to the white 10 and 10S have been, where it's like the white back and then the silver edges. Which, looking at my phone now, I think that's what my 10 is, but it's in a case, so I never actually look at it.
Yeah, I had that color a while back, and I can't remember which phone it was. It might have been my 7 or 7S or something like that, but it's a good color. I like it a lot. And the blue, I'm having those second thoughts. It's like when I first saw the green last year, and I thought, oh, that green looks really good. I'm going to get the green. And then I thought about it, and I saw some videos. I was like, oh, I don't really like that green. And I'm not sure that I really like this blue as much either, although I do like it better than some of the other blues on the other phones that are already out. So I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. I've still got a little time to decide. I haven't ordered anything because you can't yet. So I'm at the moment just waiting for the Air to come and seeing what that's all about. Because that, I don't know, having kind of helped Federico with the editing process last night, I have and talked to him about it on App Stories. I have a pretty good feel for what that device is like, and I think it's gonna be good for the kind of stuff that I do, but without I don't need things like ProMotion in that device, because while I may use the Apple Pencil, which I already have with it, I don't think the lag as a result of not having 120 hertz refresh rate is going to make much of a difference, since all I'm going to be doing is doing things like taking notes. I'm not an artist. I'm not going to be drawing at all.
Yeah, I think really that's where that's important, like you say, is if you're drawing or sketching, that kind of thing. But like you say, if it's just for note taking and stuff like that. But yeah, I did agonize over the color quite a bit because, I think, a lot of people have said this isn't a unique thought, but like, I think we've all been clamoring for the good phone to have colors.
Right.
And obviously we still kind of got that where, the Pro has the blue and the 3 other colors, but the 12 doesn't feel like the cheap phone this year. Because the differences they're not quite as stark as they were with, say, like the 11 and the 11 Pro, where the 11 didn't have OLED and it was like bigger bezels, that kind of thing. So like, this feels like the first year where we've really had, there is a good, decent top end iPhone that has nice colors. And then I'm like, I'm just going to order black anyway because it's going to be in a case. Like, even though I've wanted this for years, it's like, well, I'm not going to see it anyway. Like, it's just going to go in a case, and I'm never even going to look at it.
Right. Yeah, no, I hear you. The other thing I thought was really weird about colors is that this Air has these smart covers, and they're all really boring, dark colors for something that is built with these really light aluminum colors, and it, like a pink and green and blue and everything. It's really strange to me because the 11 Pro has really bright, vibrant colors. There's like a citrus and like a royal blue color, which I think they call surf blue. There's a bunch of really fun colors for the 11 Pro, but not so much for the iPad Air.
Yeah, I to be honest, like, I think about the sheer scale that Apple are at now with all these different size devices and all the cases, and it's like, it's no wonder stuff isn't available. Like the leather cases aren't available. The little slippy wallet thing that they showed that shows the time through the hole, like, that's not available.
Right.
It's no wonder that this stuff hasn't happened, or as you say, like limited colors and stuff like that, because they're just the sheer amount of products they have now.
Yeah, that's true. I ordered the little magnetic card wallet to put on the back of the phone, and I think I'm going to cancel that order, having seen like MKBHD use it. It doesn't have very good magnets, and so it slips off very easily, and you have to detach it from the phone in order to get the cards out, is my understanding. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like the wallet I really want. So I'll probably change that.
I was really excited about that. That was something that I'd said to a few people. Was like, oh, actually, like this is really wanted me to upgrade the phone. This was before I decided if I was ordering. And then exactly like you, I saw MKBHD, and there was somebody else who had one that did. They didn't really do a review of it, but they showed you it, and I was like, that is not on there strong enough. Like, there is no way that I'm going to trust that as like my primary wallet. Like, it's just no way.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I mean, we'll see how it all goes. I really should never buy cases or anything day one, because I get excited about these things, and then I realize, well, first of all, I almost always use my phone without a case to begin with. I've done that for quite a few years now. So, you know, as much as I like the silicone cases, they eventually kind of get ratty, and I don't use them enough. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do this year. I'm going to definitely get rid of the wallet case. I like that Kumquat one, so I may get it, but I may just order the phone and nothing else for now.
Yeah, I did do that. I did that for maybe a year and a half or something with my iPhone 10. And then, you know, the Apple Care had run out, I think, because I think I only had a year at that point. And I was like, I really should get a case, because if I drop this, like, even just go into the Apple store is a whole thing where I am. Like, and I'm like, I'm just going to spend the money. And bear in mind, like, when it's a year and a half after the phones have been out, you can pick up official cases on eBay for like £20 instead of 50.
Right.
You know, so I've got the purple silicon case for it. But I'm just like, no, I'm just going to get a case, because if I don't, I know that I'm going to drop it. I really just don't want to have to deal with going to the Apple store to get it replaced.
Yeah. I'm live canceling this wallet. You convinced me. It's besides, I just went and looked, and it's not supposed to actually arrive to my house until the end of November, which seems like forever from now, but I guess it's not that far. But yeah, I don't need this. I ordered the Poppy one is what I ordered.
Right. But yeah, don't cancel it. It looks terrible. It doesn't look like it's going to do what any of us want it to do.
No, right, exactly. So, all right, that's been canceled. I don't know. What else is going on, Rob? Are you playing any games these days?
No, I'm nearly finished with Tony Hawk Pro Skate. I've finished. I mean, you know, there's a lot of challenges built in that I'm just not going to do, because I don't have the time. But I've just been going through every single pro skater and doing the goals for them. I think I've got like 1 or 2 left. Other than that, no. I mean, I'm waiting. You know, we've got like a few weeks, 4 or 5 weeks now to the PS5 comes out, which I think is when I'm gonna really get into it. Although I've been thinking I might play The Last of Us again, and then, you know, play the second one as well. But no, I haven't been playing anything new at the moment.
For me, it's going to be interesting to see whether I can even get a PS5. There's really been no additional pre-sales anytime recently since we last talked, at least in the US. So I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything in the UK either. It's really been a sort of, you know, it's like, oh, the pre-orders are done now. Like, there are no more PlayStations.
Right. It is kind of weird when you think about it. It's like, well, yeah, why couldn't you just keep doing rolling pre-orders and use that as a way to ramp up your demand? I guess because the answer is they can't make that many. If they kept them open, they'd probably have too many pre-orders.
Yeah, but that's my assumption as well. But you know, I'm sure you'll be able to get one eventually. But I think right now, like, if anything, is why I think the retailers are probably a bit hesitant to sell too many, because I guess I don't know if they even know how many they're getting or anything like that yet. So
yeah, that's true. The thing with Sony though is they ought to ramp it up fast, because if they wait too long and I can't get one for a while, and some sort of Pro Switch comes out, I may just never get the PS5, or at least I may wait, until it's a lot cheaper than it is at the first year or two.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm sure they know this, but my assumption is they're making as many as they can, but it is just not enough.
Right,
I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah, no, that's probably true.
Cool. Well, so I guess, has anything happening? I don't think there's a lot happening now, unless Apple throw another event at us.
Oh, they're gonna. I'm sure they're going to. I think it's going to come in mid-November for the Apple Silicon Max, and I'm just going to try to get a little rest before then.
Well, the next time we record, you should have your iPad.
I should.
And if my delivery estimate is right, I should have my iPhone.
Oh, nice.
It should turn up like a day or two before we record next, hopefully. So we can at least talk about those, if nothing else. I'm sure some other exciting things will happen, but yeah, that's great.
All right. Terrific. I'll talk to you soon, Rob.